I'd like to welcome everyone here today. My name is Steve Whitman. I'm with the International College of Ministry, and we teamed up with BigMarker to bring you this special presentation, How to Present Like a Pro. The International College of Ministry is a seminary college, an online seminary college, and we offer degrees in theology, Christian counseling. We have associate, bachelor, master, doctorate degree programs. And we've been on BigMarker for a little over 2 years now. And over the course of those 2 years, we have hosted nearly 120 webcasts. And over the course of time, I've been the technician behind it, and because I'm the director for IT services for ICM College. And we've been through some good webcasts and some rough webcasts. In the beginning, we've watched BigMarker grow over the past 2 years. There's been some bumps along the way and a lot of lessons to be learned. And today's presentation is going to be showing you how to take advantage of the tools and a lot of the lessons that we've learned over the last 2 years. So let's go ahead and get going here. I will try to watch the chat box. Obviously, microphones are turned off, and that keeps feedback from interfering with the quality of the recording. I will try to watch the chat box. I encourage you to ask questions as we go along. And I will also be querying people who are here. We at ICM College, we really like to keep an interactive classroom, so we will get feedback and ask questions and and encourage everyone to participate as we go along. So let's go ahead and get started here. Today's topics, we're going to be looking at several different areas. The presenter, we're going to be looking at you, the presenter, and what it is that you can do to enhance the quality of the message that you are delivering to your audience. Now, bear in mind that when you come onto BigMarker, most people have a message. Now, if you're here only in the capacity of having a video Skype, if you just want to talk to friends and family, then maybe this presentation isn't for you. But if you're here because you want to learn how to use the technology to deliver a message, whatever the message may be, then we have tips here that if you employ them, it will give you a professional presentation. It will build a professional presentation. It will enhance your ability to deliver your message, and it will build credibility into the message so that your audience will receive it. And we'll be looking at some of the ways that you can handle yourself in front of the camera and deliver your message. We're also going to be looking at your material. How do we put together slides? How do we put together the material that we're presenting? We're going to be looking at the hardware. This is an area that is often overlooked, but is a critical component in a webcast. I mean, when you really consider what's going on here, we've got a server on the internet that is linking all of these computers together with multiple video channels and multiple audio channels, and everything has to be kept synchronized. And if you, as a presenter, if your hardware is not fast enough, strong enough, or if you're not using high enough quality, the quality of your message can be compromised. And again, the whole purpose of conducting a web class or webinars, we call them in ICM College, we like to call it a live web class. The purpose is to deliver your message. So everything that we need, everything that we're going to have technology is all for the purpose of delivering your message. Now, we're also going to take a look at emergencies, technical problems, and distractions. And we've seen our share of them over the last couple of years. And we found different ways to anticipate problems or have backup services available. And we're going to be talking about that. And finally, at the end of today's presentation, we're going to be asking for volunteers to step up and present a 2 or 3 minute presentation, and then we're going to ask the rest of the people in attendance to give them a critique. Nobody actually signed up to do this, so I don't know if we have a volunteer or not, but we'll try to get to that at the end of the presentation. Now let's talk about the presenter. What you want to do is to welcome your audience and make them and thank them for attending. Your audience, make your audience feel that you are grateful and appreciative of them taking out time out of their busy day to hear you talk. Every person who logs into your webinar is paying you a compliment. They're saying that they believe that what you have to say is important, and they're putting everything else on hold to listen to you. Make sure that you understand. Make sure that they understand how much you appreciate them for this. Take command of your presentation. All right, this is your show. You're the expert. People are here to hear you. Take hold of the reins and run the show, and run it with boldness and confidence. The value of your message is greatly enhanced in the eyes of your audience when you do this. Don't be wishy-washy and hesitant. If somebody asks you a question and you don't know it, don't be afraid to say, I don't know, but I'll find out. Invite them to return to your community where you can post a reply to a question that you don't know. If you do know, answer the question right on the spot, and this continues to build your credibility, and this will further enhance your audience's willingness to receive your message. Appear alert and confident. If you're a morning person, then host a morning webinar. If you're a night person, host a night webinar. You need to appear in top form and be alert and be confident. What you don't want to do is to schedule a webinar after 10 hours of grueling work, and so that you're looking like a zombie in front of the camera. This doesn't work. It does not deliver your message, and it delivers the wrong message to your audience. It gives them the message that you're really not there for them. Now sit back and be comfortable. Don't slouch, but you don't have to be rigid either. Being very rigid just says that you're not being comfortable, not being yourself. And this is going to come with some practice. It's not going to be easy for everyone. Some people are going to drop right into it. Others are going to have to practice at it. For some, you might find that being in front of a camera and talking to people is not really the best place where you feel. Maybe you can't get over it. Perhaps you can find someone else in your office or in your organization who is at home doing that. Maybe you would need to ask them to do the presenting for you. Maintain eye contact. This is vitally important. If you get this wrong, you're going to lose your audience. Maintaining direct eye contact with your audience is one of the most important skills and techniques you need to employ during a webcast. Don't look off screen while you're talking. All of these things that that I'm going to be talking about in this presentation, I've seen happen right here on BigMarker. All right? I've seen people looking up like this and talking to the ceiling. Don't do that. Talk straight into the camera and make the connection with your audience. Don't look off the screen. If you're sharing the webinar with a co-presenter, it's best if each person has their own camera, but if you're not able to do that and you have to get two presenters sharing the same camera, when you speak into the camera. Now, you might be talking to your co-presenter, but don't take your eyes off the camera and look at them, because what this is doing is it creates a private conversation between the two presenters, and it gives your audience a feeling that they're being excluded. All right? Make sure that you continuously involve your audience with what you're saying. If possible, use your own camera. Let's talk about teleprompters. There's several different kinds of teleprompters available that can run on the PC. And using the teleprompter or scrolling notes, as the case may be, allows you to review your notes and be able to talk directly into the camera. In fact, you can actually make it look like you're talking while you're reading. Now, some of that might take some practice, but generally speaking, you're going to have a little bit of notes that you can come off of your notes. You're going to have a little bit of reading, a little bit of live narration, and with a teleprompter or scrolling notes, you can flow between the two of them, and your audience will never really know when you're reading and when you're not reading. Now, there's a free teleprompter for Windows-based computers, and you can find it at telecast.sourceforge.net. I'm putting this link into the chat box here. This is a pretty good free teleprompter, and what the teleprompter will do is it'll give you the ability to scroll your notes right in front of the camera. Now, this is not the one that I use. In fact, what I use is a Microsoft Word viewer. I'm going to show you an image of that here in a second. Now, what you want to do is to position your teleprompt window or your speaking notes window directly underneath the camera. And when you do this, you can be looking straight at your notes, and it appears from the position of your audience that you're looking directly at them and maintaining eye contact. I did a screen capture here that shows the notes during a BigMarker webcast. Now you'll notice that this section here, these are my speaking notes, and I have it positioned a little bit above the chat box so that I can see new chat box comments come in right here. As a matter of fact, the way my screen is set up right now is exactly what you see in the slide. So I can read off of my speaking notes, watch the chat box. I have slide control here. Now, where is my camera? The key is my camera is positioned approximately here, but a little bit off the screen, so that when I'm reading, I am still looking directly into the camera. I know that the Microsoft Word Viewer is a free software. You can go to, just Google it and you'll be able to find it. It works on all versions of Windows. I don't know if it works for Mac or Linux, but just Google it and you'll be able to find it. Okay, let's move on. Unless, of course, we got any questions up to this point. Is there anything that anyone has?
Steve, this is Joe from BigMarker. We did have a question about any prompters for Macs, and I did post 2 links for free prompter services for a Mac in the chat.
Okay, very good. I see the links there. Thank you. All right, let's go on to image and motivation. Now, when you step in front of the camera, you need to project confidence. Right? Do you believe in what you're saying? If you don't believe in what you're saying, your audience is never going to believe in it either. You're going to come across as looking like a fraud and a fake, and they're going to dismiss your message. The whole key here is that your message has to carry forth credibility. If it looks credible, if it sounds credible, presented with confidence, your audience is going to receive the message. Your audience views you as the voice of authority on the topic that you present. It doesn't matter what topic it is. Maybe you're an expert marble collector, and if this is the thing that you know about, you can present the topic as the voice of authority. The authority is given to you by your audience. It's yours. It's yours. Use it and believe it and project it back to your audience. Also, you want to motivate your audience to participate. Stop from time to time and ask them questions. Choose someone from the audience and ask them a question. Encourage your audience to use the chat box, as you've already seen me do here. As a presenter, you can gauge the effectiveness of your presentation by querying your audience. Should you discover that you've lost your audience, you can backtrack to clarify points. But if you press on with a lost audience, your message will be lost as well. Now we've gone to the 10 things that you must avoid doing at all costs. Just don't do these things. All right? And again, I'm going to repeat this. I said this earlier. I've seen each and every one of these things happen in a BigMarker webcast, and that's how I put the list together. Begin with, don't yawn. Okay? Yawning says you're bored. You don't want to be here. Would you please? I want to go home. I want to get out of here. Don't yawn. This is not the place for yawning. Yawning also says you're looking bored. If you look down to on the screen there, second to the last line, looking bored is the death sentence of the webcast. Basically, it means that you don't believe your message is important enough to deliver. You're not excited about being here. You're not enthusiastic about delivering your message to your audience. It just continuously says you're not interested and there's no value in your message, and that undermines the credibility of the message you've come to deliver. Don't scratch. I've seen some of these webcasts I've been on, I've seen people do things right in front of the camera, and their hands are scratching this way and scratching this way. And I just want to reach right into the camera and go slap them and say, stop it. It's very distracting. Hold yourself in comfortable, but in a good posture. And don't let these little nervous habits take away from your ability to deliver your message to your audience. Don't squirm about in your chair. It's okay to move a little bit, but don't get too carried away. If you're sitting on an office swivel chair, don't be swiveling back and forth. It's very distracting to your audience. Avoid nervous habits. Now, sometimes people will get nervous. Some people are very comfortable in front of the camera. Others are not. If you're a person who is not comfortable in front of the camera, practice. Go ahead and set up a practice webcast in the BigMarker practice room. Have some friends come in. Those, the kind of friends where you can actually be silly and do anything in front of them that doesn't bother you at all. This is the kind of environment where you want to learn, and you will begin building the confidence that you need to step in front of a public camera and broadcast to the world. But what will happen sometimes is that you've got this anxiety build up, this nervousness inside, and it starts coming out. And it starts coming out with small little nervous habits. I saw one person one time sit in front of the camera and kind of tilt their head to the side and start playing with their hair, and they had very long hair, and their fingers were just going curling and curling and curling and pulling on their hair. They didn't even know that they were doing it. But this is an example of a kind of a nervous habit that distracts from your ability to deliver your message to your audience. All right, don't rest your head in your hands. Just don't do it. I saw someone doing this in front of during the middle of a webcast. Don't do it. It says, I'm not interested in being here. It says my message is not important. It destroys the credibility of your message. I mentioned this once before. Don't look off screen. Eye contact. Remember this. Maintain eye contact, and the eye contact is inside the camera. Don't look off screen and be looking up at the ceiling. Don't be looking at the computer monitor that's the side of you. If you have somebody else inside of the room with you, don't be looking up and looking at them to get feedback from that person, because your feedback is coming from the person inside the camera. In fact, let me kind of expand upon this a little bit. When you're talking and looking inside that camera, you're not talking to a lot of people. As a matter of fact, I don't even know how many people we have in the webcast right now. What do we got? We've got 17 users logged in right now. But you see, it's not a matter of being concerned with how many people is there, because when you're presenting, you only need to present to one person, and that's you. All right, I'm speaking to you. I make it personal to you. And that is how we communicate that message. We've come here to deliver the message, and I'm presenting it to you. Make it personal with each and every person in your audience, and don't be too concerned about how many people are actually out there. Just think about one. It's just you and one person. I'm talking to you. We talked about looking bored. Don't do that. Reading. Don't be reading. I saw some people with notes, and from down here, notes up here. They're looking up at the sky and reading. They're looking down and reading. Don't have any printed notes out there. The best thing to do is, if you really have to have text to reference, is the teleprompter or the scrolling notes that I demonstrated earlier. Other than that, anything else that you have as printed material is really a distraction. And if you have something that's printed that you need as a prompt to help you continue delivering your presentation, place it into another window on your screen so you can click over to it and bring it up in front of you. so that you're still looking into the camera. And it's funny that I have to say this, but don't eat and chew gum on the camera. This isn't lunchtime, and yes, I've seen people do that. It's completely unprofessional to try to talk to somebody with your mouth full and, you know, chewing on a Big Mac while you're trying to talk to them. Don't do that. Oh, I'm watching that chat box. We still don't have any questions, so if there's something you want some clarity on, just type it into that chat box. In the meantime, let's go ahead and move on. Presentation slides. Yes, Kurt Zastro says, you're making me hungry. Well, that's why we planned this after lunch so everybody had a chance to eat before we got here. At least on the East Coast we did. All right, let's talk about our presentation slides. When you go to put your presentation slides together, use a single template for your presentation. Now, we all know that there are free PowerPoint template websites out there, and it's just exciting as all it can be to go out there and download all these templates and make your presentations look so colorful, but avoid that temptation. Don't do it. Don't put a different PowerPoint template for every slide in your presentation. It is very distracting. What you want to do is your focus is your message, and you want your slides to be able to be a framework to help enhance and deliver your message. You can do this by building a commonality into your slides. Use the same kind of background. Position your elements, which we call template level elements. I'll be talking about that in a second. In the same location, so that when your audience is looking at the slides, the elements that are repeated over and over and over again kind of blend into the background, and the part that stands out is the context that's delivering the message of that particular slide. Now, avoid using text slides. Seriously, this is a multimedia platform. We've got video, we've got audio, we've got streaming multimedia. Don't use text. That's kind of like showing up to a gunfight with a butter knife. It just doesn't belong here. If you're not good with the artwork and with the layout, find someone who can help you. But if you compromise on this part of it and just come out with text, you're going to lose your audience's interest. Remember that the components inside your slide is to create enough eye candy and enough visual support that your message is carried forward. Now, and so that's right there. Select graphics to emphasize your talking point. Let's talk a minute about aspect ratio. Now, this is a term that a lot of people don't understand. Perhaps you've heard the term widescreen and PC screen, or it's got a 16:9 aspect ratio or 4:3. And this might sound really geeky, but it's really not all that difficult. Well, I'm going to demonstrate what this means right here on the screen. Now, 3:4 is the old CRT, which is a cathode ray tube type picture screen. This is what the original television was made to. This is the size of the old television screen. It's 3:4. Today's widescreen, which they call 16:9, is the most common format in use today. But let's just kind of take a look at 3:4. Now, I'll show you what 3:4 means. 3:4 means this. You take the width of the screen and divide it into 4 parts. All right, so let's draw a line down the center. All right, not a really clear line, but you'll be able to follow along. And then we'll divide it again until we have, it's supposed to be 4 equal parts. Okay? All right, so we have the width divided into 4 equal parts, part 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 3 comes from is that the height, the distance up and down, this distance out here, equals 3 of these sections this way. Okay? So the height equals 3 parts of the 4 parts of its width. In the 16:9, it means that the slide is divided into 16 vertical parts, and the height of it is equal to 9 of those parts, and that's how you come up with 16:9 and 3:4. That's probably a little bit more technical, and you're going to need to deal with every day, but I just kind of wanted to remove the technical complications. Sometimes people see these words and they kind of back off from it because it's so foreign and they don't understand what it means. The 16943 is really simple, and the part of it that you need to remember is that this one over here, the 43, this one here, this is obsolete. It's not being used anymore. The most common screen size in use today is on the laptop computer, which is globally, worldwide, the most common screen resolution is 1366 by 768. And that's in production on basically on laptop computers and some tablets as well, but mostly laptop computers. And that particular resolution is a 16:9 or a 16:9 aspect ratio. So when you go to create slides, if you use PowerPoint, you can use the it's not OpenOffice, it's called LibreOffice, which is the open source Office suite. I think there's a module in here. I think it's called Present. You can select a template that is either standard 3:4 or widescreen 16:9. And I encourage you to use and build your presentation slides out of 16:9 because it fits the screens that your audience is going to be using to watch your presentation. All right, presentation text. Proofread your text. Seriously, it really looks very unprofessional to have grammar errors and spelling errors in your presentation text. Besides, the purpose here is to get people to receive your message. Now, let me ask you a question. I've got a fictitious sign here. It's spelled phonetically. All right, Digital Concepts, we make your business look professional. Now, if you saw that, how much confidence do you have that that company is going to make you look professional? Probably zero. You're going to start looking somewhere else and you wouldn't even bother to contact them. Why? Because if they didn't care enough to run a spell checker on their own work, what makes you think that they're going to take the time to do it for you? You don't want your audience to be thinking that way. You don't want them to think that you're going to compromise the quality of your work for them. So use the spell checkers, use the grammar checkers. They're everywhere. There's even free ones on the internet. Make sure that your text is grammatically correct and the spelling is correct. All right, presentation images. Presentation images need to enhance your message. Don't go overboard with them. Don't make them look too cluttered. You don't want them to clutter your screen, right? What you do want them to do is to enhance your professional appearance. You want them to help convey the message of the slide that you're displaying. These images, they can be free images or paid for images, wherever you want to get them, just to make sure that you're using good quality. Look for crisp, clean looking images, right? Images that you kind of scribble out in MS Paint, or if you took it into Photoshop and you cut and cropped and it looks all chopped up and messy. These kinds of things, they really don't step up and scream professional, right? And professional is what is going to reinforce the credibility of your message that you're delivering to your audience. So use high quality images and think polish. Make them look nice and shiny. Like make those images tell your audience that I've gone the extra mile, I've taken the extra step to make this presentation the best that I can make it for you. Let's talk about template level components. I mentioned a moment ago that we're going to be talking about this. Template level components are things like your logo, your header, and your URL. Now, where you put them doesn't really matter. Whatever your logo is, put it where you want it. Whatever your header is, put it where you want it. Wherever you want to put your URL, put it where you want it. But once you got it there, leave it there. Don't move it around with every screen. Web page designers have a tendency to mess this up too. You see, there's certain components that once a person sees it and they remember, well, the URL is down here on the bottom. Okay, they're on a subsequent page or a subsequent slide, their eye is going to go back to where they remember the URL to be. If you tell them something in your presentation and they go, what was that web address again? Their eye's going to go back down to where they saw it last time. And if you keep moving it around, your audience is always going to have to be searching, and eventually they're going to feel lost. They're going to get the feeling that they can't find their way around your slides. You want your audience to be comfortable. You want your slides and your information to be inviting. So take these, what these are called are template level components. Your logo, your title bar, your web address, and whatever else that you feel would be something you want to include on every page. Pick it out, put it there, but leave it there for all of the slides. Presenter techniques. These are things that you can do that are within your control. When you begin your webcast, set your rules. If you remember when we started about 30 minutes ago, one of the first things I said is, if you have questions, put them in the chat box. Okay? There's other things that you can do tech support-wise. We're going to be getting to that in a moment. But basically, what you want to start off with is telling your audience how you're going to operate the webcast. All right? Maybe you want your audience to save questions to the end. Maybe you want them to bring them up right away. Maybe you've got a co-presenter, like a moderator, that is standing by to answer the questions. I've seen the BigMarker team do this a lot in their webcasts. The presenter is actually working the slide content while the moderator is answering questions about the slide material, and the two of them are working together as a team. Let your audience know how you're going to hold your presentation. If that's the way you want to do it, tell them. Send your questions to the moderator. If you don't have a moderator, tell them, hold your questions until the end, and we'll address them one at a time. Begin with an overview of your main points. This is easily overlooked, and you're going to notice that in my presentation here, we not only began with a basic outline, we talked about the presenter, and we're going to look at material and technical issues, but when we get to the end, we're going to do a recap. We're going to go back over to reinforce the key points. And the key point really is what is it you want your audience to take home? In any webcast, there's going to be far, far too much information for any one person to remember. Okay? It's just the way it is. So as the presenter, look at your material and say, you know what? I want my audience to remember this, I want them to remember this, and I want them to remember this. All right? These are the things that after they've gone home and later on this afternoon and they're at the water cooler talking about the webcast, these are the things I want them talking about. All right? Pick those up. Those are your key points. Those are your take-home points. Present them in the beginning. Repeat them during the course of your presentation. Reinforce those ideas and conclude with a summary that includes those points. And what you're going to be doing is you're presenting it, you're reinforcing it, and then you're recapping it at the end. And in this way, you're going to be able to take those key points and get them into your audience so that after the webcast is over, they're carrying them with them. And we already talked about the command your material. I think we talked about that one enough. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. All right, we're getting into the hardware side of things right now. This is an area that is often overlooked. Lighting, for example. Lighting is absolutely critical because shadows are your enemy. There's different kinds of lighting, and one of the things that's very easy to miss is that a camera sees light differently than the human eye sees light. The human eye sees white light, which is a light in the white temperature band, and basically that means sunlight. We see sunlight. Right? But the camera sees light outside of that temperature band. The camera sees light that's hot light as well as cool light. Light that moves into the red spectrum and the blue spectrum, which is where you have infrared and ultraviolet frequencies. What does that mean to you as a presenter? Well, that means is that if you're presenting under fluorescent light, you may not have a natural looking appearance. You might come across as blue or green. If you're sitting in front of an incandescent light or halogen light, you may look red. What you really want to do is to have a natural color. And one of the best ways to get the best way is sunlight. However, doing a webcast out in natural sunlight is a little difficult. So the next best thing is going to be natural light bulbs. Now, natural light bulbs are rated at 5,000 degree Kelvin, and basically that means artificial natural white light. You see right there, Philips has a brand, and their brand name is Natural Light. And I think that we've got people participating from in different countries, and I really don't know what brands are available in all these different places. But the key that you're going to want to look for is that 5,000 degree Kelvin. You find yourself a light bulb that's listed at 5,000 degree Kelvin, you've got a natural white light, and this works very well for illuminating you in front of the camera. Now, the other thing you want to do when it comes to lighting is have multiple lights. Turn lights on in your background to take away the shadows. Don't have one light on you. Don't just have one light. As a matter of fact, I have 3 front lights right now. I have a light coming from me from this direction. I have a light coming at me from this direction. I have a third light coming at me from this direction over here. All right. And what this does is it softens shadows and it removes the darkness that's natural when you have directional lighting. Turn on different lights in your room to light up the background. Now, there are times I've seen some webcasts where a dark background works pretty good. It kind of depends on your audience, and you're going to have to use a little bit of discretion to determine which look is correct for your audience. All right, let's move on here. Cameras. All right, the camera that you see displayed right there is the very camera that I'm broadcasting with. The quality of your camera goes a long way to the quality of the frame rate and the resolution of your broadcast image. And is Joe still here? BigMarker Joe? I think he is. I'm going to pick on him. I hope he doesn't mind. But I was in a webcast the other day, and Joe was sitting there, and he said, "Oh, I just used the camera on my laptop." But the camera on the laptop are mass production cameras, and they are not designed for quality broadcast. They're designed for general purpose. All right, they're designed for the average consumer to get onto Skype and talk to someone, another Skype member, or maybe you're going to get into Google Circles or Google Talk and start doing some web phone calls there. That's what those kind of cameras are designed for. If your purpose in delivering your message is to ensure that you've got a professional message, then you want to have a professional camera. This camera here I've had absolutely great results with, and one of the keys is that you're not going to get a good quality camera for your $30, $40, $50 range. These cameras here probably $80 to $130 depending on where you go. But the Logitech with the Zeiss lens has served me very well. I think the quality of it is very good. And if you're really going to look for a professional appearance to your webcasting, then I really recommend that you invest in the quality camera. Let's take a look at the next piece of hardware, and that is the microphone. All right, I got a question for anyone who wants to try to give an answer. What is the most important part of a BigMarker webinar? Somebody give me an answer in the chat box. Dr. Ray Self, who happens to be the president of ICM College, who's joining us today, says sound. Joe says audio. El Sol says the voice production. Anyone else? All right, you're all correct. It's the sound. You can have video that cuts out, and your audience can still follow your message and receive your presentation. But if you don't have sound and they can't hear, it doesn't matter how good your video is, your audience you're going to lose your audience and they're going to miss your message. The microphone that I'm using, in fact, I'm using it right now. This is a USB omnidirectional microphone by Audio-Technica. I think this one's called, I forget the model number right now. This one ran about $125, but the quality of it is really, really good. It will give you that strong professional sound. It doesn't pick up background noise. It doesn't put white noise and static into there. And you combine this with the camera, and you're going to have good quality video and a good audio sound. Now, the other thing you might consider with the camera is called a pop filter, and basically that's just a screen. And what it does is it takes off the sounds that are associated with hard consonants like P's and T's. They have a tendency to have a little bit of a pop sound when they go through the digital conversion process, and that will smooth it out and make it sound a little bit smoother. Any questions? All right, let's move on. Emergencies. Sooner or later, you're going to be in a BigMarker webinar, and something unexpected is going to happen. I promise you, sooner or later, something unexpected is going to happen. Now, some of the most common things that I've seen is coughing, sneezing. If this happens, you really can't avoid it. But as a presenter, if you really feel a coughing spell come on, if you really feel like you've got a sneeze that you cannot control, reach up there and mute your microphone so it doesn't overpower everybody. If you feel that you have to break away, for a coughing spell, you can switch your camera off momentarily. It's better than blasting your audience with coughing. But you have to kind of be aware of it. Look around and get familiar with the control panel controls. Be familiar enough with it. You can just reach over there at a moment's notice and cut off the audio or cut off the video. Your audience is going to understand when you come back and you say, excuse me, I had a cough and, didn't want to put it onto the recording. Just kind of extend that courtesy to your audience. The other thing now water is actually good. You'll see this in a lot of professional video and broadcast presentations where your speaker will have some water nearby and take a sip of water. That seems to be accepted, and if you feel like doing that, then I would encourage you to go ahead and do that. Let's talk about technical support. If you can have somebody help you with technical support, it helps a great deal. The moderator of, and in fact, let me just kind of expand upon this. I don't know if you know the difference between presenter and moderator. The presenter is what I'm doing right now. I'm actually in front of the camera. I'm speaking to you. I'm giving you the presentation. The moderator works in the background to kind of manage all the technical things. The BigMarker staff is logged in right now, and if you had a technical problem, you could communicate with them, and they can deal with your technical support issue without interrupting the presentation. So if you have someone that can give you a hand in this capacity, it will help maintain that professional appearance without interrupting your presentation. Let your moderator manage the technical issues. Now, the other thing you might want to do is to have backup services ready. In the beginning, when we first, a couple years ago on BigMarker, let me just say, BigMarker has come a long, long way. The quality of the service today is light years better than what it was a couple of years ago. The team at BigMarker and the developers have made some wonderful improvements. Though the process of getting from where they were to here was a little bit bumpy. I remember a black template that nobody seemed to like. But anyway, I really would give them a thumbs up and the kudos for doing an amazing job in improving the quality of this whole platform. But with that said, they used to have a backup teleconferencing service where you could have a telephone number available, and I think they removed that as an option maybe going on about a year ago, I think. However, I find that it is still very handy because one of the things that you're going to encounter is that you're going to have people who can't hear you, and it has nothing to do with your computer, the quality of your presentation, nor BigMarker. It's going to have to do with their computer not being fast enough or their internet connection not being fast enough. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. And what I found is that when this occurs, it's very handy to just have a telephone number there, and you let your people know in the beginning. If you have any problems listening, call up this telephone number and listen to the teleconference. If you have a moderator, make sure your moderator knows the number. Your moderator can send it up to these people, and you can keep or let your audience listen in via the teleconference. This works very well. The service that we use is www.freeconference.com. I know there's another one out there, but that particular service is free to use, and that you can reserve a couple hundred lines at a time if you want. So again, have backup services ready. The other tip as far as technical support is use the private chat feature. And sometimes some people aren't aware with this. If you look over at the chat box, look up at the top to the right of the word all, it says chat with. If you click on chat with, you can pick a person's name out of the chat box and send them a private message. Tell your people tell your audience when you begin your presentation that if they have technical issues to use a private chat. In this way, technical support conversations are not cluttering up the main chat window. Let the main chat window be a tool that helps to enhance and further the message you come to deliver. All right, let's see what else we got here. I think we got a slide. This one's going to be fun. Here are some of the crazy things that I've seen happen on BigMarker webcasts over the years. Distractions, things that just get in the way. All right, to begin with, overhead fans. Now, overhead fans are really big down here in the South. I don't know if they are in other parts of the country. But what will happen is that the blades of the fan will momentarily block out light coming from an overhead light. And the automatic light sensor in the webcams will make an adjustment because of the lower light level. As soon as the blade moves and the light comes back on, the camera adjusts again. And what this results in is that your video window goes real bright, real dark, real bright, real dark, over and over and over, and it is incredibly distracting. What will end up happening is that instead of paying attention to the presentation, people will begin looking at the video window, watching your window go bright and dark and bright and dark and bright and dark. All right? Be aware of that. If you've got an overhead fan, shut it off. It's best not to have it on during your presentation. All right, another thing you want to control is people in the background. We had a web class a few months ago, and one of the people attending had the camera on, and they were in an office, and their people were doing things in the background. And it must have been near lunchtime or something, because we see somebody in the background. This is right in the middle of the presentation, and our presenter is going on, delivering the message. And in the background, somebody stands up, and they walk out of the room. They come back in with a tray of food. They flip something on the computer. They put their feet up onto the desk, and they sit back, and they're eating with their food in their lap. And why do I know this? Because it was distracting. It took my attention away from the presenter. What was our presenter saying at the time? I don't remember. The attention was on the person in the background. So be aware that activity around you and in the background can be a distraction to your audience. Now, cell phones, it should go without saying, turn a cell phone off, and don't ever, ever, ever stop your presentation to go answer a cell phone. All right? Let it go to voicemail, return the call afterwards. Just don't answer cell phones during the middle of a presentation. And finally, auto-zooming cameras. This is part of the support software. This happened a few months ago. We had somebody who attended one of our presentations who had a Logitech camera with the Logitech software. It was on a Windows-based computer, and the Logitech software has something built into it called motion detection. And what it would do, I think it's really kind of neat technology, but every time something moved, the camera would automatically zoom in on whatever it was moving. It was automatic motion detection. So we have somebody that's sitting there attending the webcast, and they move their head. And the camera zooms in on their nose, and we're almost looking up their nose so we could count nose hairs. And of course, they stop moving, so a couple seconds later, the camera zooms back out. And then they move in their chair, they move their head, and the camera detects the movement and zooms in, and we're looking up their nose again. I mean, seriously, it was humorous, and I really felt like laughing. But I think everyone in the whole presentation was watching this camera zoom in and out on this person's nose and not paying attention to the message that was being missed by our presenter. So, auto-zooming cameras. This is a place where your moderator, if you see this happening and you feel that something is going on that is interfering with the quality of the presentation, it's your job as the moderator to step up and do something about it. Now, as a moderator, you can go in there and click off their camera, okay? Shut the camera down so that camera's no longer a distraction. You can message somebody privately and saying, we have a problem with your camera, we had to shut it off. That's really all you need to do. But be aware of these things that can interfere with your audience's ability to receive your message. All right, let's do a quick recap. This is the summary and the recap I was talking about. Take command of your presentation. All right, it's your presentation. Speak it with confidence and boldness, and just project the value into your message that your audience has come to receive. Maintain eye contact. Look into the camera. Don't be looking off the camera. Don't be looking up at the ceiling. Use a teleprompter or scrolling viewer for your presentation notes. Project confidence and motivate your audience. Ask your audience questions. Back up and ask your audience things that you've already covered to make sure that they're capturing your message. Never look bored. Never, ever, ever look bored. Don't really need to say anything else about that. Just don't do it. Use a single slide theme. Get creative with slides all you want, but once you're done being creative, use that slide and be consistent throughout the slides of your presentation. Use widescreen slides. Be aware that the most common screen resolution in the world today is a 16:9. Develop your slides to look correctly on a 16:9 display. Proofread your text. Take the time. Show your audience that you've taken the time to make sure that everything is correct. Use your spell check and grammar check tools. Don't let errors be displayed during your webcast. Use high-quality images, but don't overuse them. Make sure that your images enhance your message and do not take away from your message. Keep your template-level components consistent. Pick a place for your logo, pick a place for your header, pick a place for your URL. Leave them there. Let every slide have it in the same location. Well, I think command your material. Again, we kind of covered that in the first group. Control your lighting. Use natural lighting if you're able. If you're in an office environment where you have a lot of artificial lighting, see if you can open a window or open the blinds and let some sunlight in. That will help. Turn on lights to remove shadows in the background. Use high-quality cameras and microphones. Your built-in camera and microphone is just for your end consumer use. It was not designed for a professional presentation. Go ahead and invest in a better camera and a better microphone. Be prepared for emergencies. Get used to where your audio on-off and your video on-off controls are. Have a backup telephone number for a teleconference available that you can offer your audience in the event that something doesn't work right. Let your moderator manage your technical problems. Let your moderator be the one that gives them your conference phone number or helps them figure out why their audio is breaking up. And of course, avoid distractions. That's pretty much it now. Do I have, up to this point, is there any questions? Anybody have any questions on anything we've covered up to this point? All right then, Lynn, let's just go ahead and open this invitation. Is there anyone here who would like to accept the invitation and step up in front of the microphone camera and do a short 2 or 3 minute presentation and be critiqued by other people in the webinar? Is there anyone here? El Sol says yes. All right. Are you prepared with something, or are you going to do this on the fly? All right. Our technical people here. BigMarker support. Can you turn on El Sol's audio or camera, and let's give him an opportunity to give us a 2 to 3 minute presentation. Welcome, El Sol. Your camera is on. If you go ahead and turn your audio on as well. Okay, very good. If you don't have any slides available, if you'd like to go ahead, take a couple of minutes.
Hello?
Give us a test presentation.
Hello? Okay.
You're live right now. Go ahead
Basically,
and
the
take a couple of
presentation
minutes
I
and give
would
us
like to
a
make
sample
is
presentation.
on the possibility of using WebMia for teaching primary school pupils, because I'm a primary school teacher.
Yes, you're live. Okay, it looks like El Sol's having some internet issues there. All right, is there anyone else that would like to step up and try this out? Okay, we don't have any other volunteers, and we are closing in on 2 o'clock. So let's offer this one more time. Anyone here have any other questions about the presentation? Or would you like to step up and give us a practice presentation?
Hi, this is Kurt. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Kurt.
Thank you.
Would you like to give us a practice presentation?
What would you like a practice presentation on?
demonstrate any of the techniques that we presented during this webcast.
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, I don't have the right camera. I do have a microphone, but that works nice. Um, and I've got bad light in the background, I can see. So that doesn't work nice. I guess some of the things, just some of the takeaways is I don't have any slides to present or pull up. But just as an aside, we run a foundation for children called the Children's Heritage Foundation. And we look to use BigMarker to promulgate that, to have interactive webinars and to be able to present with people. Also with other businesses that are associated with it, because we see that business's mission. And so other businesses that would come alongside, or we can present some of those to people so that they can take part in that and also capitalize what we're doing for kids.
Oh, okay, thank you for sharing that. Is there anyone who has any comments about Kurt's short presentation, but in relationship to the tips and techniques that we've learned during this presentation? Joe says, you sound great, and I like that you have eye contact.
All right.
Also says he got the message. I agree. I think your audio sounds very good. I did notice that you maintained eye contact, so kudos for that. However, that very bright fluorescent light over your right shoulder, it washes out your video.
Yeah.
Okay, Kurt, thank you so much for participating.
You bet.
Is there anyone else? And if not, we're going to go ahead and close down this presentation. All right, well, I don't see any other volunteers, so I want to thank everyone who came out today to take an hour out of your busy schedule to listen to this presentation. It has been recorded, so it will be available on BigMarker. You can come back and review it later or pass it on. I want to thank you for being here and hope that you'll come join our community at ICM College. Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you. Goodbye. Mm-hmm.